Hey, with the live stream, we're on KCSB FM 91.9 in Santa Barbara and NettNettRadio.com out of Tijuana. I'm joined by my friend Lytalk, and today we welcome Brad Rose, the well-coordinated Astu, Oklahoma individual behind both the music project Charlatan and Foxy Digitalis. Brad, we'd like to thank you for staying up slightly past your bedtime for this interview. How are you doing, dude?
Doing all right. Yeah, not working this week, so that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's great, dude. That's great. Yeah, just like what have you been up to? Like it's been a wild year for everybody. Like what have you been up to? How have you been keeping busy?
Well, it's been a wild year. That's a do working. Although, so like last week was the last week of me working full time,
Mm.
my job. So, I've also got I have a daughter who will be 8 on Thursday. So
Okay.
when this airs,
Yeah.
uh, so a lot of homeschooling. Never thought I'd be a teacher in my life, and
Oh
I'm
wow.
I'm not a teacher. Let's just
No.
yeah, it's been I don't know, it's been a hell of a year.
Yeah, dude, it sounds like it. I know it definitely has been for us as well. So before we get in, I guess, to the rest of the interview, I do like to encourage our listeners to get involved in their community as much as possible. And, I've been asking artists to choose an organization from their community that they feel is important for our listeners to know about. And you decided to dedicate your episode to Justice for Greenwood. What does
Yeah.
Justice for Greenwood do, and why are they important to you?
Yeah, so this year, and actually it was the May 31st and June 1st was the 100-year commemoration of the Tulsa Race Massacre, which
Hmm.
is like one of the worst race massacres in American history, where there was a town sort of next to Tulsa, kind of part of Tulsa. I don't know. I wouldn't really call it a suburb. It was its own thing. Anyway, it was known as Blackwell Street.
Hmm.
It was an all black town, really prosperous. It was, it was called Black Wall Street for a reason.
Hmm.
And then in the May 31st, 1921, basically the white people on the other side of town burned it down and murdered a bunch of people. Like, horrible
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so Justice for Greenwood is an organization that is basically fighting for reparations for
Mm.
the survivors and descendants of survivors. And the city has been very reticent, obviously, to embrace that. So they're doing pretty incredible work and just trying to push to, you know, try to
Yeah.
I don't want to say make it right. You can't make it right, but
Sort of make up for what was done, I guess. I don't know. Like you said,
yeah,
reparations, right? Yeah,
I
like
mean, think of all the like generational wealth that was stolen
mhm.
from, and so it's, I mean, it's our mayor always talks about like, well, we don't want to hold people now like responsible for or punish them for crimes committed 100 years ago. It's like, yeah, but all the white people are benefiting from those
Exactly.
crimes
Yeah.
because of so yeah, we should pay for it. So
Yeah. That's awesome. So they're actually paying out reparations to these people, to the the black residents that are living in Tulsa, or
they, they're trying to raise money to do that, and also there's a lawsuit against the city
oh,
to
really?
basically force them to pay.
Wow,
Uh,
that hell yeah, that's sick.
it's it's a whole thing. I mean, it's been a wild year, and the messed up thing is the city raised a bunch of money off of this 100-year commemoration too, and they like built they're building a new building down there.
Really?
Supposed to be like Greenwood Rising Museum, but there already is a Greenwood Cultural Center, which is
Oh goodness.
and they raised like $30 million.
Oh
Not
my
any of it
goodness.
is going
Wow.
to so it's messed up.
Yeah, I don't understand how like you could just be in like city government and just be like, this is a great thing to do. And
Oh,
then
it's
$30
it's
million that could go to actually helping the residents rather than
right.
building a
None of
monument.
like they don't want a building. They have a building
Yeah.
where the history is taught and where they take their kids to learn about what happened. They don't need some, brand new building
Yeah.
2 blocks away. Yeah.
Gosh.
So that's why, it's an awesome organization.
Yeah,
so.
that's really great. Yeah, I'm really glad you chose that. I feel like that's very important, and I think that the work that they're doing is actually really cool and super important as well. So
Yeah.
thanks for
Cool.
choosing that, Brad, and dedicating the episode
Absolutely.
to. Maddie, did you want to start off with I guess
with our big keynote question here. So let's get going here. Brad, at the start of January 2021, that's about coming up for 6 months now, you logged back on to twitter.com and you made a big announcement post of return of Foxy Digitalis. And this was coming after nearly 8 years of radio silence, slowly unthawed throughout 2020 with the launch of the Jewel Garden label, along with a return to making music, or at least publishing on Bandcamp under the North Sea moniker. In that time, there's been a really sizable shift. Not only have like a lot of blogs died to anything in my mind, from hipster runoff to a lot of the other kind of Sirius XM universe things there, to large coverage for niche act stuff that like the Outdoor on Pitchfork was doing, to even a bunch of alt weeklies. Streaming is king. Bandcamp's kind of positioned itself as a bastion here for experimental. Why revive Foxy Digitalis now, in between that 8-year span?
Yeah, so it's a good question. No. Throughout 2020, as I started immersing myself again after a while away, it became pretty clear pretty quick that I feel like right now is, as far as music being made, it's like an amazing time. There's so much amazing stuff happening, but it felt like not a lot of it was being talked about or written about. And so as 2020 went on and I just kept like digesting more stuff, it became clear to me. It's like, okay, this is kind of what Foxy Digitalis did before. It was the same kind of reason why I started, and it felt, it's like, well, why not do it now? Let's do it again. And I realized too how much, like, one of the things, I was saying this to somebody recently, so in 2013 when Foxy Digitalis ended for the first time, like, it ended because my partner was pregnant. We were about to have a kid that year, and Digitalis, the label, was going pretty strong, and I felt like I had to choose between the two, right? Like, it's like I can't do both of these and then also learn how the hell to be a parent. And so in my mind, it was like, well, Digitalis is like the thing. It's the magic. And so unfortunately, Foxy Digitalis has got to go. In hindsight, it was really the opposite. Like, Foxy Digitalis was the magic part of it. That was where there was a community. There was, I mean, at one point we had 35, 40 riders.
Oh, wow.
And just, there was this great camaraderie around it. And I remember, a handful of riders, when we announced we were closing, like, they were seriously upset, like begging me not to do it. And at the time I was just like, oh my God, you're being dramatic. But looking back, I was like, yeah, it meant a lot to a lot of people. I didn't quite realize that at the time, or how much it did. So
yeah,
as I kind of went down this path again, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn from my mistakes, and I'm going to actually put the effort into, other people's music and talking about their art and their work, and trying to kind of, build those connections again, and like all that kind of stuff.
So do you like plan on having other writers like contribute as well again?
At some point. I don't want it to get to the point it was at, because it was just so much logistical. Although, back then, like, now it's, I don't know. Sometimes people offer to send me like physical promos. I'm like, no, don't. It costs too much money. Like, back then we were getting, 15, 20 packages a day.
Wow,
oh my God,
that's insane.
And so I would mail stuff out to people like all over the world. We had writers in like New Zealand, so I was spending a small fortune just mailing stuff.
Oh my
I'll never do that part of it again. But yeah, I hope to get. I've had a number of the old writers express interest, and I published one review.
It's a 5 Pan Am piece.
Yeah. So this guy Brian Hayes, he lives in Toronto or outside of Toronto, and whenever we started Foxy Digitalis the first time, he was kind of the first regular contributor outside of myself or Eden. And so I knew, and he and I had we've stayed in touch like this whole time. And I knew, like, okay, if I'm going to have somebody the first person to contribute again's got to be Brian if he's interested. And so when I messaged him, he was like, hell yeah, like, this is, band back together. Here we go. Like,
yeah, that's sick.
So, yeah. So I hope to open it up to, more people. I'd like to be in the position at some, where I can actually pay them, which I'm not at the moment. But like, I hate asking people to do stuff for free. So
yeah.
At least back in the day, I could compensate them with like, here is a box full of records and CDs. Like, this is probably worth $500. So,
yeah. Sounds like Maddie at Tabs Out.
At least in that case, though, Mike sends me a box and the value has already depreciated to $30. It's just automatic. But you know what? He sent a box for $5.50 with media mail. That was 5 pounds and 8 ounces. And let me tell you, you can put like 35 to 40 tapes in there.
Media mail is still if the USPS ever does away with media mail, like,
we're done.
Yeah. I mean, it's already, you can't sell anything internationally because of how much of a nightmare it is. But like, if that happens, it's good night. Then
the entire experimental scene's being held up by media mail.
Yeah, pretty much is.
Also, again, fascinating though, because like that is a conversation that you've seen people on Twitter do, where they're asking, "What's the fair price for a tape?" And then how much are you going to ship it for? And also hearing again the logistics about doing the lack of international distributors. That's its own tangent.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, that was I just started doing physical releases again, and I was asking on Twitter, I'm like, how the hell do you guys like ship this stuff and it's not $20 to mail a tape to the UK? And luckily people are like, oh, you got to go here, and you ask them to do this, and then it's only $10, but it's just still,
It's almost, one thing I've noticed, it's almost cheaper for international to do it. I picked up a Don Cab tape from a guy in Spain, and I would not have bought it if he didn't have $4 Euro shipping. And I knew it wasn't going to arrive for a month, but no tracking, and it just showed it.
I know. They need to bring back international surface mail and bring it back quick. Because, it's like, you know what? I don't care if I have to wait, especially now when, most of the time, you buy it on Bandcamp, so you can hear it while you're waiting for the tape to show up for 2 months, right? So, but, yeah.
So, returning probably to Foxy Digitalis, at this time, as you mentioned, the relaunch really has been run by yourself, and it's coming again. I keep noticing on my Twitter that you're posting like 2 to 3 times a day. It feels like it's on an hourly basis, and then I'm almost like, you're just one-upping every single person with what you're able to kind of throw down, because you've got your ears really glued into the ground. How have you been able to balance listening to promos in between setting up posts and then even planning the Patreon content?
The Patreon content has been very like make it up as I go. Like especially lately, I'm like, oh, here's this cool Don Cherry live recording. I'm gonna like rip it from a video and make it sound better, and then I'm gonna just put it on there. What the hell? Like that was literally like an hour of my day. Anyway, yeah, I don't. Not like you would think I'm super organized, but I'm really not. I'm working on it. Like my partner is really good at organization, so like we got a whiteboard, and like she has this system she does at her job, and she's like, okay, yeah, I think it would work really well for, so she's gonna teach me. We're gonna see how this goes.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I just like a lot of so during when I was working my day job, most of it was working in the database and writing emails and shit. So, I would just be listening to music constantly, and then luckily, no one's going to see this, but I would spend a good chunk of my day when I was on the clock writing. Like they wouldn't know.
That's sick.
I mean, I didn't know that I could get the work I was supposed to get done. It was supposed to take me 8 hours. It took me about 4. So I would just sit there and spend a chunk of my day like writing reviews and like sending out interview questions, and then, yeah, it was. I don't know. It's like any anytime I can find like 10, 15 free minutes. So like when I'm cooking dinner and I'll be standing next to the stove, I have my laptop next to me and I'll be
Oh wow.
formatting. That's like the interview we published today with Forbes Graham. I was literally last night when I was cooking dinner, like formatting it and getting it into WordPress. And yeah, so I don't know. I try to make the most of any small chunk of time that I have. And I'm constantly, like, when I'm listening to stuff, writing down notes. And so like, oh, this is making me think of this, or this reminds me of this. So that when I'm actually sitting down to write it, the actual writing doesn't take as much time because I've already kind of formulated what I'm gonna, what I think I'm gonna say. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I do it. Sometimes it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
And so now that I'm not working full time, yeah, I mean, I don't know how much I'm gonna, it's gonna.
And just a follow up there, like in between these kind of 8 years period, you have been, though, you didn't stop just listening to music. So you kind of in that time though had been still building up a library of sounds and stuff that, like, artists that you had wanted, I think, to cover, and would kind of jump on that opportunity and maybe even have stuff in your head already.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was, there was like a period there when when the label ended in 2015, where I was like seriously depressed and stuff, and probably didn't like listen to anything for a while, like anything new. But then as I started coming out of that, yeah, I mean, it's been, it hasn't been as intense as the past year as far as listening goes, but yeah, for sure, there's been stuff that I'd heard over the last few years. I was like, okay, if they have something new, like I want to write about this, I have ideas about this, or I want to, like, I knew I wanted to interview Maurice because I've been listening to her stuff for the last couple of years, and I was like, this is awesome, and this is really good.
That's literally for us as well.
So I guess sorry, this is like kind of a side thing, but like you said that, like, over the past couple of years you were listening and thinking about wanting to write about it. So did you know that you were gonna like restart like Foxy Digitalis at some point?
I didn't think, not really. No, I said for years I would never do any of this again. Like, I'd never have a label again. I'd never, and then I don't know, like when the pandemic started happening, it kind of made me realize a lot of the things that were like holding me back were pointless. It was like the whole world could end in a month. Who cares? Like, why are you worrying about what, oh God, is anybody going to care? Is anybody going to remember that you exist? Or, dealing with like imposter syndrome and stuff. It's like, who cares? Like, the world is on fire. You don't know no one knows what's happening from one day to another. Just, this is, you miss this, do this.
Yeah.
So no, I thought maybe I've been thinking like starting some kind of, a blog, or, I was into the newsletter idea until,
oh boy,
Substack went down.
and then that was like, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because I realized when I was trying to figure out alternatives, I was just like, I just want a freaking website again. Like, I just want that's what I know. That's my vibe. And
also the website, seriously, I was doing a search today and I forgot this is one of the best search functions I've seen in a long time on a site.
Oh, that's good to know.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's all word. I don't know. I have no, it's like a plugin that kicks ass.
Seriously, that better than Pitchfork now. Fantastic.
All right. Sweet.
That's sick. Better than Pitchfork, dude.
I'm gonna change our tagline from channeling waves of vibe to better than Pitchfork.
That's got better search function.
Better search function than Pitchfork. So additionally, you've been continuing to trove through the Foxy Digitalis print and digital archives with the old posts. So how has it been to return into the archives, and in what ways does Foxy Digitalis compare and contrast with its zine era and first print incarnation?
It's been kind of wild going through a lot. We published so much stuff that there's so much I didn't even remember existed. The worst part though is that, so I never had a backup of our, like, the last incarnation of it, because our web host went out of business and just oof.
Dang.
And so, I mean, it's like I have stuff from before we were using WordPress, like on my hard drive, and some when we were, but at that point, most of the writers were inputting their stuff on their own,
Mhm.
and then edit it and just hit publish. So I don't have like Word docs or anything of a lot of that stuff. I've been going through like the Wayback Machine and copying and pasting stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's stuff that, like, again, you know, you can see it on like the main page or whatever. You click to go to the article,
And it's yeah.
and there was like one thing I didn't even remember we did this, but apparently Vashti Bunyan wrote a piece about songwriting that we published.
Oh.
It's like,
Oh.
yeah. When I found that out, that made me like, yeah, it was bad. And so, yeah, I think, can I reach out to her and be like, hey, you have a copy of it? You probably don't remember me or remember this or.
But yeah, you were on a 2005 press tour and you did all these things. I'm pretty sure she has a Pitchfork list as well at the time.
But yeah, I don't know. Going back through it, it's been like the coolest thing is realizing, like, especially finding these things that I didn't remember or whatever, and being like, oh man, we really published some really good stuff. Like,
yeah.
The thing that really kind of set me down looking through the archives actually is that this was early on when I restarted it. Is that Sarah Hennies asked me about an Alan Bishop interview that I'd done.
Oh.
Oh wow.
She was saying she wanted to use it for a class that she.
Oh wow, that's sick.
I've wanted to check in with her and read that entire class syllabus she's done, because that just seems so phenomenal.
I know. I just kind of want to ask, like, can I just sit in on your? Like, if you're doing it virtual, can I just sit there? I won't say anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then I mean the sort of the pre-internet era. I haven't republished any of that stuff because I'd have to type it all up, and I don't know. That's not the way I want to spend my time right now. But there's some pretty cool stuff in there. I think there's a lot of really bad stuff. A lot of like really twee personal writing that in and out to people. But there was, yeah, I think one of the coolest things was that Peter Hughes from the Mountain Goats like did a tour diary for one of the first European tours he did as part of the Mountain.
Wow.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, so that's one thing that someday I will probably like retype.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One thing I had noted, or I guess I have a question about some of the zine content as well. When you had started that in the late 90s, what really also were you kind of focused on at that time? What did it feel like to kind of be in a world of experimental music where you would know only a handful of labels and then some zines that might be turning into labels?
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was especially like the pre-internet era was really weird. It was a lot of like sending. There was a handful of zines. There was one called Woolly Bugger, which was run by this guy Jeff Fucillo, who had a label called Union Pole. He was either in Portland or Seattle. I can't remember. And then there's one called Yakuza, which is still some of the best music writing I've ever read. Like that's where I learned about Terry Riley and Tony Conrad and like Lauren Connors. That was by a guy named Dave McGurgan, who I think he was out of Philly, maybe. So where it all like where it really all started for me is I heard about Shrimper Records and a compilation they put out called The Bridge Perversion. It was a CD compilation of tape compilations.
Whoa.
Oh, that's sick.
And this was like 93 maybe. And I say pre-internet, I actually heard about this like on AOL and punk chat room.
That's
a vitally important part of my growing up. But the thing that blew me away is it was like all these people making vaguely experimental kind of singer-songwriter, whatever, but they were clearly recording it like on boom boxes and like that Mountain Goat stuff. And for me, it was hearing stuff that would, like what me and my friends were doing. I mean, it was way better, but it was the same idea of just home recording. And that was my first real exposure to that. And so from that, I think I got like a Shrimper catalog, and I think maybe he sent me with, I sent him like $12 in the mail and got a bunch of tapes. And then, tapes were $3 back then. That was the amazing thing. Post-paid. And then, but you know, you'd get these zines, and there would be ads in them, and it would be like all this, like, oh, okay, it's a $3 tape. It sounds cool. I don't know anything about this. I'm going to send this total stranger $3, and then like you would get to know people. Like you would start writing letters, and then you know, as more people got on email, you'd start emailing, and so you know, and it was a weird experience though, because in Tulsa, it was me and one of my friends that we've known each other since ninth grade, I think. And he only was doing this because like I was dragging him along. I'm like, dude, and so we made a bunch of really terrible music. We had a lot of fun, and so it was like really surreal knowing there's like all these. It was, I mean, it's like it kind of is now because you know there's, I mean, it's a little different, but knowing that there's these people all over the place who are into this stuff and that are like actually interested and you know have these ideas that are kind of aligned with your ideas, and yeah, I don't know. And as a kid in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that just like was life changing. I mean, it was, and most of these people, like I was like the youngest kid. It was all these, like most of them were in college or just out of college, and they thought it was like, oh man, you're in high school and you have a tape label. That's cool. Like we're gonna, you know, support that and like encourage this kid who's in Oklahoma. What the hell, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what the question was, so I don't.
Honestly, you answered it beautifully, and you even kind of spurned into something I think we were going down. Because so you've been based in Tulsa this entire time.
Yeah, other than 2003, I lived in Seattle.
Okay.
Otherwise it's been Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And as kind of a state for experimental music spaces and the musicians, how has it then changed? Is it getting kind of better, or are you still going to go down to Texas and, you know, perform at the co-ops? Love
it. No, it's like it's gotten so, it's like right now is the best it's ever been. So it's and a lot of it changed in that period where I was not doing anything. So it's like that was great. But like a couple things have happened is there's one of the billionaire family foundation philanthropy. Anyway, I'm not going to go on my spiel about that, but they started, it's called the Tulsa Artist Fellowship. And so it's basically people apply, and I don't remember how many get in every year, but it's like a 2-year thing where you come, you live in Tulsa for 2 years, you get a living stipend, a free apartment, a free studio, and like support to do your art. And so that's like brought a lot of outside kind of fresh blood in, and also money, which money is a good thing when you're trying to get something going. And so like my experience with that is my friend Nathan, who I do Ajalaska with and Indian Weapons with, and he and I have known each other, I think it was 2005 is when we met. I mean, I call him like my musical soulmate. The dude, he and I are just, we didn't do anything together for years, and the first time we got together, it was just like it never stopped. It was amazing. But so he's been in that fellowship for a while, so like I've heard a lot about how it works, and just seeing like the cool stuff he's been able to do. Like they fund him doing a 3-day noise festival every year.
Oh, that's sick.
They've helped, like he's brought in, like he brought like Phil Niblock here to play at the museum a museum downtown. Like these kind of things that I never would have thought you would do in Tulsa. And then he and I did a thing actually earlier this year. We played 2 Sahel Sounds cinema like films.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like we rented out the drive-in theater in town, and on a Thursday night, and played the Purple,
dude, that is so
Purple
sick.
Rain, and then Zur, yeah, and like 70 or 80 people showed up.
Wow,
like,
that's good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and so having and the fellowship's whole thing is like they pay to rent it out because they want the events to be free so that anybody can come. And so it still blows my mind that this is now possible, like in Tulsa. And there, we have the Bob Dylan's archives here now, and like Harry Smith's record and book collection is in Tulsa now, and there's like the Woody Guthrie archives, and so there's more. There's stuff going on around that, like the Bob Dylan Center where the archives are. Like right before the pandemic brought Steve Gunn here to like.
Wow.
Yeah, like they had a conversation like on stage, and then he played for an hour, and that was cool because Digitalis put out his like first actual non CDR release. So
Oh wow.
it was it was, and he and I'd never met. Like Steve and I had never met. We just talked through email and phone and stuff, and it was like But so it's I mean right now is, and there's there's actual like cool bands and projects going on here that aren't related to Nathan or I, because before that was like whatever we were doing was not to pat myself on the back door, but it's awesome. Like I'm especially like there's going to be some stuff coming on Foxy Digitalis that's about local projects and local.
Oh, that's sick.
And trying to get the word out, like, hey, there's stuff here now.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That is so sick.
I guess it's a bit of a tangent question, bit of kind of an open thought here. So as I've been going through the blog and I began to notice some of the posts that you had been reposting, I noticed again a recurring theme involving the year 2005. And I think in particular, the reason why this was even spurred was Brent Sirota's lovely 2005 blog piece that he had done for Gold Leaf Branches, which, especially talking about some of the stuff you had mentioned, it feels like if I were going to wager, that had been probably up in 2005, the biggest thing you had done up to that point, or a real culmination of the tape music you'd been fostering and looking into.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, that was the thing that, I mean, it was like that release, and there was a Stephen R. Smith CDR that 05, 04, I honestly can't remember. Those two releases really kind of set Digitalis like off on its whatever it became. Because those are the one people started like, oh, there's this label, cool. Like, what is this all about? Yeah, Gold Leaf Branches I talk about this a lot on Twitter. Like, and this all stems from that Shrimper Abridged Perversion CD compilation. Like, big compilations full of a ton of stuff. It's something I've always, like, I still love. Anytime I see somebody on Bandcamp like, oh, we have this 30 band fundraiser, I'm like, hell yeah. Like,
big shout out to Geographic North.
Yeah. Another former Foxy Digitalis writer. Anyway.
Oh, wow. That's sick.
But yeah, so Gold Leaf Branches, and originally it was going to be one CD, and then it just like people would be like, oh, I'm going to send you this, but I've also like my friends got this project, you want to hear it? And then it was like I would get stuff and it'd be, oh my god, this is really cool, sure, let's put this on there. And then it took on a life of its own. And then by the time it got to 3 CDs, I thought, okay, I gotta stop. This is I could sit here and keep going on this forever and it would never come out. But yeah, I don't know. I remember that I had never seen that post from Brent until he mentioned it earlier this year. It was just like, that was like one of the coolest things that I'd seen written about Digitalis ever. It was like, it felt
it had really struck me as well, because Brent was one of those early Pitchfork writers, and I think some of his stuff still holds up very well. And so to see him in 2005 also staking a claim against the site and saying, this is the type of folk that's going on that isn't just like the two New York or like Midwest bands that, we're going to hold up as a tentpole. And I'm going through this list, and the only bands on Gold Leaf that I know are Charlatan Beads, who were kind of always doing that. And then 6 Organs and Chastney's work, which always whips straight up. Yeah. And so I guess that's because like, those are the sounds that I guess I've gravitated towards, and that's kind of been a thing. But do you notice still that those types of, not maybe just these comps, but these types of folk, is it like really going on still kind of globally, do you feel? Or even, is there something new, more interesting going on, kind of a new folk sound in underground from what you've seen?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's, it's interesting that, and I had this conversation with Matt LaJoy from Flower Room I'm doing an episode on time lag records for my podcast. And he and I met in 2005. Back to 2005, right? 2005 because of time lag. But we were talking about how time, like, so 6 organs, Charlatan, who was the other one? Oh, and Matt Valentine and Erica Elder. Like those 3 I would associate with Time Lag from back in the early 2000s, because that's where a lot of their first records were, and they're still, and all of them are still putting out amazing stuff. Like they're these, and like we were talking about how like these lifers who are still just carrying the flame.
I'll just say, like, as a tangent note, like finding a 6 organs album, literally any one, and getting it for $6, whether it's tape or CD, it's great because he does something different every time. It's a new challenge.
Yeah, he's I could like go on and on about Ben Chesney, and I mean, like the fact that he let me use that song on that compilation was like, we kind of knew each other through this guy Keith Wood, who did Hush Arbors, because they had played some shows together. But I remember I had like this bootleg of that show that version of Thousand Birds is from, and I just emailed him, I was like, this is really cool, like, can I use this? He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like, no big deal. Anyway, but yeah, as far, I don't know, I think they're like, now there's just, I don't even know what would be comparable to that. I mean, that's tough because there's so much. I don't even know. Like, I sometimes don't even know if I feel like I understand what, or I have an idea of what is not popular, because none of this stuff was that popular, right? I mean, there's, yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. You like stumped me here.
Oh, Christ.
I feel like a lot of the stuff that the American Dreams label is doing right now, is kind of because their stuff isn't. It's not like one sound, right? I mean, you've got like Clara Say, who's not her thing, but then like that Devin Schaefer record that just came out is.
Oh yeah.
And then beyond that, the Eli Winter and Cameron Noller record is this amazing folk record. I mean, like
and Jordan's as well.
Yeah. I mean, so I think that like one of the things, one of the things that I really like about that label is that you can tell that it's basically what Jordan likes. And that's, and like for me with Digitalis, because it was kind of all over the place. I mean, we were doing all sorts of random stuff, and it was, the only thing was, if I'm really into it, that's all I care about. I don't care, like I'm not trying, and there are some labels where it's like everything's kind of in the same, and that's cool too. Like if that's what your approach is, and there is something to be said for when, I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but like certain labels release something, you kind of know what zone it's going to be in, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be good, but it's going to be in this
certain
area.
realm, yeah.
Whereas like American Dreams, you have no freaking idea. Like,
yeah.
But it's going to be good, because I can't think of a bad record he's put. And so, yeah, American Dreams is the new folk. There you go.
I love
Honestly,
that.
this is great. That's
sick.
the perfect answer.
That's a great take. That's so dope. Yeah, we really want to have Jordan Reyes on the show. That'd be super sick if we could have Jordan Reyes.
Yeah,
and Claire.
Jordan apparently has played the Tulsa Noise Fest like 2 times it happened, because I've never met him. He was apparently here, and I may have seen him play, but there was so.
Oh wow, that's sick.
One will happen again,
yeah,
like this year, next year, and he can come back down, and so.
We had already mentioned, or we had already talked about like Digitalis, and then back in 2003 you started the label, I guess, and then later sprouted a couple sub labels specializing in like their own niches and stuff like that. So do you consider like the Jewel Garden an extension of Digitalis? And if not, like why did you put an end to Digitalis and start the Jewel Garden? I guess we already had like discussed why you ended Digitalis, but
yeah, like originally when I started the Jewel Garden, and I should have known better because I know myself, but it was basically just going to be a vanity label for my own stuff. That was always going to be, and I still call it a vanity label, because I mean, like today I put up this remastered recordings I'd done. It's like nobody gives a shit about this, but I think it's cool, so I'm just going to throw it up there because I can, because it's my label and whatever. But yeah, so originally it was going to just be a way to put out my own stuff. But it's as soon as I opened myself to the idea of like working with other people, yeah, that was, I mean, it's sort of, I don't want to say it's Digitalis 2.0 because I'm trying to take all that I learned from Digitalis and not do that.
Yeah.
Digitalis got too big for one person to run, but like didn't make any money. So there was no way for me to get anybody to help me without exploiting their labor.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to do that. Like I want to keep it more, it's close knit to people I have friendships with, or it's not just people sending me demos that I think are awesome.
So was Digitalis like that before? Like people were just sending you demos and you're like, okay, I want to put this out?
Till the very end, I listened to every demo we ever got.
Oh, wow, that's sick, dude.
I released a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know how much, but I released a good amount of stuff from demos. Apparently, Keith Rankin actually said that I was like, because I did a Giant Claw tape, and he said I was the only person who ever released something from a demo that he sent out.
Wow.
Blows my mind because like he's amazing. But
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was, and because of at the time, like, I mean, Foxy Digitalis was much bigger than it is now. We were getting, like, I mean, we had 40 writers, so we, you think I publish a lot now. We were publishing like 10 things a day.
That's insane.
But so I met a lot of people through that, and it was just, which is kind of happening again. I do an interview with somebody, and then we kind of stay in touch, and it's like, hey, I'm doing this compilation. Oh, cool. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's, in a way, it's connected for sure. Like, I can't say it's not, but it's trying to be its own thing. And of course, like, I named it after a flower kind of thing. So like, I like invited those connections.
Yeah. So, what could you tell me about like your most recent release on your label?
Well, there's a couple. So there's one that we just did that's not me, and I have nothing to do with. By this duo, I'm really bad at pronouncing things, so I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh yeah.
I think it's called Tikkun Olam. I think that's how it's pronounced, but I don't know. And that's actually, so it's this guy, Colin Fisher, and his partner. They live in Toronto. Colin Fisher had a really awesome solo album that came out this year on, I can't remember the name of the label right now. So that's how he and I met. I wrote the publicist who was working at somebody I know and sent it to me. He's like, I think you'd really dig this. And I listened to it. I was like, oh, this, and so we did an interview, and Colin and I really kind of hit it off and connected. And so after the interview and stuff, we just kind of stayed in touch, and he's like, hey, I have this thing. Do you want to hear it? It's really not like anything else you've probably heard of mine.
Yeah.
And it's not. it's it's like this like funky 70s ECM summer stuff. I don't know. And I remember hearing it and loving it and thinking like, this is gonna be one of those things that people are like really into or think is terrible.
Yeah.
Totally like my vibe. So but yeah, so that's coming out. It's out technically. The CDs will be here in a couple weeks, but I freaking love it, and it's perfect for summer.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
That's our latest ish.
That's sick. I did have one more question relating to what we chatted about before, because I totally forgot what it was, but it just came back to me. So you said you listened to like people's like every single demo you ever got, right?
Yeah.
So
I didn't respond.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Would you like would you like reject people?
Yeah. No.
Are you familiar with like the punk label like Asian Man Records, like Skank and Pickle, like all that stuff? Yeah, because I remember Mike Park had like posted on his Instagram one time. He had like made this like sheet, I guess, that would say like he would write like accepted or like this is a good demo, or just like nah, I didn't like it. And he would like literally explain to people why he didn't like it and mail it back to them. Like,
oh my gosh.
And I was like, wow, Mike Park, that like takes some like, I don't know, that's wild. Like
that's amazing. Yeah, that's That's pretty. I don't know. I think it's kind of awesome. It could be really crushing too. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
that's
Like,
what I'm saying too. Like imagine like sending a demo to like your favorite label and then like the owner gets back to you and he was just like that was trash. Like
yeah. This is why I never have sent demos of my stuff because I couldn't handle the
Yeah.
rejection. It's like if you want to do something, come to me. I'm not gonna budge and burst into your thing here.
Yeah.
I'm too fragile for that.
Yeah, I would honestly feel too fragile to do that as well. I don't think I could do it. I have a hard time like when people hit me up for like a physical show or something and I'm just like I can't, or like, you know, I just am not interested. Like I know I feel like I always feel like I have to give them some kind of response, but people just you just don't need to respond. And I'm like, dude, like I don't know. It's like it's weird, you know, sending people, I don't know. So
but some of the worst feeling, and this anytime we would back in, I don't know, between like 2007, 2011, that's I think about the time I stopped doing shows here. But like I would bring people here and then God, nobody'd show up. It's the worst feeling.
Yeah, that's even worse. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I mean then you've got me and my friend Nathan just like buying all their merch to make it feel worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and most of the time people were like, "Oh, I don't care. We're just hanging out. This is fun. Like we're having a good time." But it's like, yeah, but like literally, there's like 6 people here, and you're like on tour, and this sucks.
Yeah. See, that's even worse than yeah.
Yeah. So just saying, no.
Yeah, just give them a no, dude. Yeah. Better than
like,
having
you don't
nobody show up.
Here. Like nobody's gonna show up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of. I think the last few shows that I prefaced everything. I was like, I can set something up. Literally, it's going to be like me and my 2 friends. But, you know, if you want to come and hang out.
Yeah,
and
you're just trying to chill.
I think both times you're like, yeah, no, we'll come hang out. We'll like, you know, we'll jam. We'll make an album.
Oh, okay. My goodness.
And that was the show that started Astral Spirits.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the kind of thing.
That's so funny.
Yeah, that was, man. It was, like 6 people watching Peaking Lights on a like night in a strip mall. It was that was
Shout out to Lucifer, a very fantastic dub album. That was one of my first tapes I got.
Goodness.
I still think it's on stock on the Mexican Summer site. And it's hand numbered. Mine was 87 out of 300, and I'm like, Jesus, did no one buy this?
Surprising that it's no kidding.
And 953, also great.
Yeah, that was. But hey, it was. I got to see him, so that was cool.
So I guess just real quick before we jump onto a different topic, but what's your favorite format to release stuff on?
I love putting out records, but I never want to put out a record again.
Why not?
To like all the horror stories I hear now, it was bad enough when I stopped doing it in 2014.
Okay,
like it was already getting to the point where it's just it was a huge pain. But
so
the whole
So what goes into, I guess, like, are you talking about like vinyl or whatever, like pressing vinyl and stuff? Are you saying?
Yeah. Just all the horror stories you hear now, how it's like it takes a year.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
Prices are going up, and it's just.
We actually had to deal with that at KCSB. You know, the radio station that our like shows are mainly at. They had done a no, it wasn't a compilation. We have a label. So someone started a label back in the day at KCSB called Bank Burner Records, and anyways, that's our label. And then I guess someone had did a release with Sissy Spacek, if you're familiar with that noise project.
Mm-hmm.
So we did like a live recording, and so we decided to press it on vinyl, or someone else did. And then by the time they got it, it was a whole new like little administration or like executive committee at the station. So they had no idea what to do with it because it came like a year after they had, like, the project was started, and it was just like this whole like debacle. So I could see why.
Wow.
Yeah, that was wild. That was a total flop. Am I right, Maddie?
Oh boy, I mean, you can probably still get that one at Warbler. It might be hanging up
Oh,
on the
good
shelf there.
God. Yeah, dude.
But
It's like funny because like the local record store has one for sale for like what, like maybe $15, but it got
it's
to the
not. It's
point,
like seven,
7 or something.
seven for a 7 inch.
It got to the
Uh,
point where we were just like giving these things away for free because it was like such a flop and there's no planned release or like anything, and we're just giving them away. Oh, I feel so bad saying that because it's honestly a really dope record, but like, oh God, the year long thing to get that record pressed definitely did not help that cause. Um,
yeah, I don't even know how you would even plan anything around. I don't know. That just it. Yeah, I love records, but I put enough out in my life.
yeah, I feel that.
I'm good.
Which, speaking of, you've got a new tape that you had this last May under
Yes,
the name
yeah.
Charlatan.
Yes, on another label.
Yeah.
Moonglyph. Honestly, Moonglyph is a great label. I always forget to place an order from them before things sell out.
Yeah, Moonglyph
Trying
is
harder.
always selling out, dude. One of my favorites of theirs recently was like the electric sound bath that they put out. That was so good. If you heard
Yeah,
that
that
one.
was really good. And I really like Steve, who runs the label. I really like his Omni Garden project.
Oh yeah,
I really regret not getting that one last year.
yeah.
Huge, huge kick.
Yeah,
But
Oh.
anyways, I guess you released Glass Borders under the Charlatan moniker for Moonglyph, like we were just talking about. However, this isn't the first piece of Charlatan music since you've started using the moniker in 2020, with releases under the North Sea and your name as well. No relation to the blogger. I'm just kidding. So when do you know which moniker suits you best, or like what? How do you choose a moniker? I guess.
Um, for lack of a better, it's a vibe. I don't know. Like
Oh, yeah.
Charleston stuff's usually kind of pretty.
Yeah.
The North Sea stuff's usually pretty gnarly.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff under my own name is just I don't know. It's usually stuff that I don't know what the hell to call it. So I'm just like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I started another thing last year called Peak Eloquence, which is guitar based stuff. And part of it is I just like coming up with band names. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like for a while I ended the North Sea because like the North Sea and Charlatan stuff, it around like 2012 started to really kind of be in the similar space.
Mm-hmm.
But then I, brought it all back. So I don't know. I'm making it up as I go.
Just vibes. When the vibes
Yeah,
are right, that's how you choose
just
it.
vibes.
Yeah. That's sick. So, what was the approach to the Glass Borders? Was it something that came out of patient meandering and improvisation in the last year, or was there a visage or inkling of an idea that you would end up with a 25-minute piece entitled "All Your Gifts Are Weightless"?
That I don't even remember. I don't know. All those pieces were kind of. I don't know when I started recording that. Honestly, sometime maybe last fall. I don't remember.
Okay.
A lot of it kind of runs together, but I know.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those pieces, all of those pieces, was really kind of, especially in the last year. As I said, as like I was a teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My kid was here basically 24/7, other than when she was at my parents' house. So like I don't know. We in some ways like the three of us got sick of each other, but
Yeah.
like we also got closer than ever, and you kind of like I feel like I learned a lot about a lot of new things about my kid, like seeing her, she wasn't at school half the time, she wasn't, and so a lot of this was just sort of me channeling some of those thoughts and those feelings about her as my kid and like what that's meant to, and like what the last year yeah, like getting to know her in a different way has been like. So like that all your gifts are weightless is, yeah, I mean that's totally, it's like about my kid. It's like the cheesiest thing.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think that's cool. I think that's real nice.
yeah. So I mean the whole thing is kind of that, it's I don't know. And I don't remember. And that piece, it didn't start out, it just kept growing. Like it started out as the first thing, and
Yeah.
then I added a part to it that then kept going, and then I was like, oh, I could do, and then next time I was like, oh, the whole like album in itself. And,
Yeah.
And then Steve asked me to do something on Moonglyph. I was like, hey, I got this thing. Maybe you'd be into this, and he was super into it, which was So
That's dope, dude.
yeah, that was a fun one to do. That's like I'm super proud of that one.
And it sounds real special too, which I think it's sick.
Yeah, it's it's a pretty like I can't really listen to it because like I get emotional listening to it.
Oh wow.
Like my kid is like my favorite person in the world. So like
I love that. This is like the most wholesome record I think we've ever talked about on the show. Now I'm gonna listen to it.
I love the
tomorrow at
cicada
work
sounds on it. It's a different. That's an Oklahoma cicada, not a Texas cicada.
Yeah.
There's a difference between your and Claire's cicadas on their releases.
Claire and I need to have like a dueling cicada.
Yeah, right.
Little banjo and some cicadas. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you have anything planned for yourself to come out soon?
Yeah, I've got. I'm finishing up. Well, the music's done. I'm finishing up. There's another Charlatan thing coming out, probably like fall sometime. It's called The Blades, and it's I call it my Vangelis record because like I love Vangelis. Like I seriously love Vangelis, and not just I mean like Blade Runner, of course, but I love. There's some I don't, but like like I will like Chariots of Fire. Hell yeah! Like
that is a great like $1 to $5 swap meet find on tape that I've been neglecting.
Man, it's there are days where that you just need that pick me up. But yeah, like a lot of it, the sort of like synth tones and the it's very much inspired by Vangelis.
Yeah.
And so it's gonna be a tape and a book. Like there's a book. Like,
oh, that's sick. That's cool.
So yeah, I'm trying to get that finished because I haven't ever done a book before. So
is this for Garden Portal?
No. It's gonna be on the Jewel Garden.
Okay, that's sick.
And so it's actually I'm really stoked too because it's got like one of the songs on it has Colin Fisher playing saxophone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's like a synth and saxophone jam. It's really it's awesome. So yeah, that's like the biggest thing I'm working on, and like I'm hoping July. No, it's not gonna come out in July. I'm hoping like August, September. So like I don't know, the next few things on the Jewel Garden are stuff from other people, so that's gonna be.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of like our main questions here. And in terms of like listener questions, if we're gonna jump into that, I think the questions actually come from me and Maddie because I put that question out pretty late. But the fan question post, I put that out kind of late. Anyways, so I guess we'll jump into it. So I saw that Eden Hemming, which is your wife, right?
Yeah.
Your partner?
Yes.
Your partner?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. So I saw on your website that she's an archaeologist. Like what does she specialize in?
So yeah, that's so her master's thesis was in use-wear analysis. So she specializes in lithics, basically. Stone tools.
Oh wow, that's sick.
Yeah, so like it still blows my mind as a thing, but she like for her master's thesis, she took examined these stone tools from a site in Jordan, I think, and basically by looking at them under a microscope, she can determine what they were used for.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, it's wild. It's
Whoa.
like the whole thing. And so she went to the University of Tulsa, and when she was there, like one of the basically sort of preeminent scholars who founded use-wear now, like he invented the whole thing and like discovered he was one of the professors there, so like she learned from the best. But yeah, so that's what her specialty's in right now. The funny thing is she's only been working as an archaeologist. So she graduated in 2011. She's only been working as an archaeologist for like 2 months.
Oh wow! So is she doing like CRM or
when she graduated, there weren't jobs around here, and so it was kind of one of those things where like we knew we wanted to have a kid, and we knew that if we were going to have a kid, we needed to be like like I'm really close with my parents. We knew that we weren't gonna like we needed grandparents to
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
So she actually worked in pediatric research of all things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then a couple months ago, a friend of ours who works for the Osage Nation tribe called her and was like, "We have this emergency opening. I think you'd be really perfect for it. Are you interested?" And
That's sick.
yeah, like it just happened overnight, and so yeah, it's wild.
That's awesome. I was gonna ask if she was doing like CRM or cultural resource management, but it sounds like she's working like directly for a tribe doing that stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think from my understanding, like what it is anytime any work is being done on federal land, they have to consult the tribes.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah.
Like, yeah, and so she works for the Osage Nation, which they have like tribal, like historical lands in I think 17 states or something.
Oh
like,
wow.
it's a huge area. Yeah. And
That's
so
insane.
certain federal agencies she deals with where they have to send her reports, and then she sends them angry letters back saying like you're not doing like it's
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. Like every day we both kind of look at each other and think like, how is this your like how did this happen? Like
Yeah.
in the space of 2 months, this is now your life.
I mean, it's really cool that she's working for like an actual like indigenous like group. You know what I'm saying? Because like
Yeah.
most of the time, I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
mean, I think that's one of those things that yeah, like it feels like it's like the right thing to do, right? Like
exactly,
you're
exactly.
actually you're fighting to protect these indigenous lands.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I dabble in archaeology myself. That's why I was kind of
Oh,
interested in
nice.
asking about that. Yeah, I do like GIS, which is like computer mapping.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess like where I got my experience from was UCSB, where we both went to school. And one of our friends, Tommy, he was like managing the GIS pretty much for like the Mesoamerican Research Center on campus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I got my start like doing like some Mayan stuff, and I'm still working with them. That project is still ongoing and it's taking a really long time, but I guess what we're trying to do there is just analyze like Mayan farming patterns. And then I'm also doing some like local stuff as well, just like local mapping. The local tribe is called Chuma, the Chumash. So been doing
That's
some stuff
awesome.
with like Chumash sites and whatnot, and just been reading a lot about like the local indigenous culture because I feel like that's really important. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was cool. It was cool to ask hear about that. It's sick.
Yeah, and that like when she was working in pediatric research, like she stayed involved, like going on like volunteering to go on digs and stuff. So um, for a long time it was just like she did it because it was fun, but it's like man, it actually really paid off now.
Yeah,
I mean, and this job is like it pays better than any job that she's ever like either of us have ever had, and
that's so
you
tight.
know, yeah, it's like an hour and 20 minutes away, which sucks. So the commute is brutal, but um, that's part of why I'm quitting my job is because I got to take care of my kid.
Yeah.
So
hmm
kind of a win.
Hey, but the money and I guess like the job itself is making up for that. So that's cool.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like she comes home from work every day, like in a good mood and excited about going back the next day.
That's great.
Never had a job like that.
That's dope. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Maddie, do you want to take the last question that we got there?
Oh yes, my listener question, which is bad. It's my very good. Hey, Brad, just want to circle back here again. A favorite 2021 release so far or trend
Oh, favorite release
or trend?
Trend. I don't even know. Like, what are the trends this year? I don't. I don't know. I have. You think I would be aware of these things, but that's part of the charm of Foxy Digitalis.
Yeah,
I have no
right.
idea what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I don't know. There's a lot of really good stuff that's come out this year. Okay, as far as like new stuff goes, I actually think one of the things I reviewed today, and I'm gonna butcher this. I think it's pronounced Muhammad. It's like that M triangle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and alum. It's this Greek duo is I think it's pronounced Muhammad. I'm gonna go with that.
Oh, that's sick.
But it's this. So they've done like a lot of really killer stuff over the last, I don't know, 10 years or something. But
Yeah.
this new record is this alum guy play. It's like Baroque drone. Like the dude literally play, like one song he plays harpsichord, and it's like this. Like I think there's one. It's like there's a Bach song. There's a I can't remember the other two, but it's like classical Baroque pieces. And then the duo, like Muhammad, they do these like gnarly cello drones and like synth drones. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard, and it's so good. Like I was saying this to somebody on, I think I was saying it to Sarah Hennies, because we were talking about it. But it was like I literally the first time I listened to it, I thought I had like something else is playing in a different window, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta. And I was like, oh no, this is the release. It's I don't know. I've never heard anything like it, and that always excites me is when I hear like hearing something I've never heard. So like that one is really good. And then there's this Julius Hempel box set on I think it's on New World. It's like a 7 CD box set, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it. But it's basically from his archives. It's stuff that's never been heard before.
That's awesome.
Like for me, he's like one of those artists who's so underappreciated in the like realm of free jazz and stuff, because I think he's like one of the most important figures from the 70s.
Yeah.
And the stuff on this box set is incredible. There's like the thing that really got me is there's this jazz cellist named Abdul Wadud who I did my first episode of my podcast on. Like he and Hempel were really close collaborators, and there's this whole album of studio recordings that had never been heard before. Like they found this tape in his archives, and so it's on the CD, and it's so good.
That's so sick.
Yeah, those two things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
and I don't know about things. Sorry.
You're good. So I think that just about does it, right, Maddie?
Well, we've just got one more question there, Thomas.
Yeah. You want to hit him with it?
You should do it.
Okay. All right, Brad, are you ready for this? It's kind of a big one. Okay. I'm not sure if you're ready for it.
I'm not sure either.
Are you prepared? Okay, so a rat is going to jump into your mouth. Do you want this rat to jump into your mouth head first, or do you want it to jump into your mouth butt first, and why?
Oh man.
It's kind of a doozy, right? I told you.
I'm gonna go with head first because I feel like it'd be easier to rip it back out by its tail.
Oh, that's actually good. Never heard that answer before.
That's
so if you're gonna pull it out,
that's a gnarly question.
It really is a gnarly one. And so you said you're gonna rip it back out. Are your teeth clamped down over its head and you're like just skinning this thing, like, or are you just gonna be a nice smooth pull, like you're not trying to hurt it, like it was a mistake that it was in there in the first place? Or
I'm gonna try not to hurt it.
Yeah.
We're a house that if there's like a spider or a bug in the house, we are trapping it under a cup and like taking it outside.
That's so nice.
I don't want to
hurt
hurt the rat.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm sure the rats listening to this right now appreciate it too.
Yeah, hopefully they appreciate it enough not to jump in my mouth.
Yeah, right. See, they shouldn't even get themselves into that situation in the first place.
Yeah, but just hang out, just chill.
So I actually asked this question to my boss when I got interviewed for the job that I currently have.
Wow.
Yeah,
what did your boss say?
So we're basically what was the context? So I was talking about radio, and then you know how they just ask those like weird questions where it's like, you could be like, I don't know, just those like pointless questions that are like, if you could be an animal, like what would you be? Stuff like that. Right. And then he was like, so what's a question that you ask people on your radio show? And I'm just like, okay, I know the perfect one. And should I say this right now? Like, is this the right? And I was just like, screw it, I'm gonna say it, dude. Like, what do I have to lose? I mean, just this job. Right. But anyway, so I asked him, and he actually like laughed and stuff, and I'm just like, hell yeah, I'm glad he took it the right way. Yeah. I forget his exact answer, but I'm glad it went well, and I just think that's so funny that, I don't know, it's a good question. It's just a great question.
And if you ask that and you're in an interview and your potential boss like takes it well and laughs, it's like, okay, this would probably be an all right place to work.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you can learn a lot about people from how they react to that.
Exactly. So I guess that just about does it, Brad. Where can people keep up with all of the stuff that you have going on?
You can foxydigitalis.zone I'm still really mad that there's not a .vibe, but someday.
That would be so sick.
Oh my god, I tried, but it doesn't exist.
.zone though, still very good. That's a good domain.
.zone is a very good domain.
So that's one place, and then you can find the jewelgarden.bandcamp.com.
Cool.
And harass me on Twitter at Foxy Digitalis. That's probably the best way to figure out what the hell I'm doing.
There it is, dude. There it is. Make sure to hit up Brad at any of those URLs. I guess you could say, I don't know, handles. So I think that's all we have for today. Thanks for tuning into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 every Sunday 4 to 6 p.m. and NettNett Radio every Saturday now at 4 p.m. This is Brad Rose from Foxy Digitalis, Charlatan, and many other things. Thanks for being on the show, Brad.
Thanks for having me.